Hello, this is Neil from mypaintgirls.com, and we're on part two of two-point perspective. This is what we went through on part one, just the basic ideas of how it works and stuff. So we'll go ahead and get rid of all that. Zoom out here. And so what we'll do here for this one is we're going to do the same thing we did before. We'll start with a canvas. I'm just going to go ahead and stroke that by 3. Then I need a horizon line, and I'm thinking it'll be about here. Hold down the shift key to make a perfect straight line. I'm going to have one vanishing point, let's say here, and one vanishing point way over there. Okay, so that's how you start out. You always have on two-point perspective, you always have two vanishing points. It's always best if you have one outside, or even both vanishing points can be outside. But you don't want the vanishing points too close together. That's what's important. Otherwise, you get really weird looking things. The perspective's too forced and it looks funky. Make a new layer here for guidelines. I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. Just so I don't get confused on what is what, I'm going to make this one red, like so. I'll make another layer also on top of that for the regular stuff I'll be doing. Okay, so first thing we need to start with guidelines and stuff. We'll start with the shape that we want to make. Let's say we're going to do like a building or something, and we'll go from there and just kind of see what happens. So I'm going to start with a line that's a little bit lower, and that should have been black. I'm going to start with a line that's a little bit below the horizon, and then I'll go to my guides layer and draw some guides that I can just easily erase by erasing the layer when I don't need them anymore. Notice everything looks kind of funky. It's because I'm zoomed out, so when I go into actual pixels it'll look fine. Right, so then we have that part done. So just like before, we're doing just what we did in the last video. But I'm going to make this one kind of long. It's a building of some sort. Kind of going back like that. Grab my guidelines. I need to draw that one to over there, and this one to over here. To know which one is just kind of like, you draw the opposites. So if you ever get confused on, what line to draw where, do I draw that way or that way? To draw this way because it's the opposite, right? But believe me, it can get confusing when you get a lot of objects and stuff, and the objects get complex shapes, and yeah, it can definitely get confusing. And then I'll be showing a really cool technique for designing cars and stuff in 2D. It's kind of complex, but it's really useful. But I want to get these concepts down first before we get into that, since that's far more complex. So I just want to make sure I have all the lines to the building. I'm not really going for perfection here, just going more for speed. So let's say we wanted a window somewhere on this building, right? Well, first, before the window, let's say we wanted to have this building be taller, like another part of this building will go taller that sits on top of this. And we'll start from here, and we'll say it comes up way up here. And then I'm going to use red for my guideline. Draw it to the point. Notice because it's above the horizon, I'm not going to see the top of it. If I cut out a part of it, then I'll be able to see the bottom, and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, now I need to decide how far in each plane this is going to go. So I'm thinking it'll go all the way to the edge, like that. Now on this side, I'm thinking, well, I need to draw a guideline there. Hold on. Because it's not on the edge, so it needs to have a guideline coming back here. Then I need to decide how far in that line that this line's going to be. I'm going to bring it all the way back to the edge of the building so it fits on there nicely. So it's just like part of this is off. I just want to show like kind of like a step. I could have actually drawn this a little bit closer so it's like even on both sides. Maybe I will do that. Just for, the building has some symmetry. where it makes sense, like that. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to make a window down here, right? And then we'll make another one up here too to see what happens. So first we'll start with the line. Then I need to draw back into perspective. Obviously, remember it's on this plane, and so because it's on this plane here, that is, it's on this square, so it's on this whole plane here, not on that side. It's on the right vanishing point plane. Then I draw the lines to the right. Then I decide how thick I want the window to be, how long or whatever I want it to be rather. And I'm thinking something like so. Voila. Right, now I'm going to need more lines though, because remember, since we're below the horizon line, we're going to see the bottom part of this object. So I need to draw another line here. Start from the vanishing point, come in. I just decide how thick I want this. And I'm thinking something about like so. That look, just kind of like whatever looks right. Also, I would see part of, this side of it, and we can see by going back to the vanishing point, from this corner back to the vanishing point, take this corner back to the vanishing point, although there's no point to because you can see it won't be visible. I just want to show though that you would take that point back, you would take this point back, right? So you notice none of that's visible though, so I can get rid of those, but just if you want to see why I'm doing that, you can see what's going back and what's not going back to the vanishing points. I am on actual pixels. I want to actually zoom in to this for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I would dark in is I need to, put lines here like that, and then this comes down like so. And now I know I can come straight up, because remember, the lines in two-point perspective, the vertical lines are vertical. That is, all vertical lines go up and down. The only time that changes is if the object itself is slanted, or when we get into three-point perspective, then that changes. Then you can have all your lines, you have another point up here. So let's see what it looks like now when we disappear this. So it's starting to look cool. One thing we know we can do is I can draw a black line from here to here, and then I can take my eraser tool and I can erase some of this here. I'm using a mouse right now just because doing this kind of stuff, I don't know, it's just easier for me to use a mouse. I could use the tab, actually. The Cintiq would probably be just as easy, but I don't know. I'm just used to using a mouse for doing this kind of stuff. So now if I disappear, I can see, I have my building there. It's starting to be there. Kind of get rid of that line. I'm not going to go and try to make everything perfect because that would take too much time. And then draw a line from there to there. Now let's do another window up here, or another hole, whatever you want to call it. We'll draw a line like so. Remember, we always start with a line, and since it's on this plane, what do? And I'm sure in your head you just said it. You come over to this plane over here with your guidelines. Now we would also draw it that way, but we know we won't see those lines, so there's no point. Now we can draw our second line like so. And remember, with this one here, we do draw the guidelines coming back to here and here. Now notice that one is pointless because we can't see it, but we do see that one. So that now we know by doing that, by drawing all the corners to the vanishing points, we can now see, what side of the thing we're, what am I trying to say? We can see the top on this side. You can see what I'm saying, right? Because these lines are all vanishing. See, remember down here, that line was visible, but these lines all vanish, so we know we can see this plane inside and that plane. But for this, it's the opposite. Since the lines comes here, all those lines are we can't see them because they're behind. We have a wall blocking them. We see this line, so we know that we can see the top part and we can see this part here. Now this part doesn't have a perspective line because it comes straight down. However, this other one is still being in perspective, remember, because it's on a vertical line. So you have to draw it from the vanishing point to make sure that line is in perspective. Otherwise, you get something that looks kind of funky. And you know, doing all this is kind of boring. It takes some time. I mean, sometimes it's kind of fun actually, but all this takes time, you know, to do. Notice it's not quite matching up because I didn't quite do it correctly. Oops, I didn't make that red because I'm like zoomed out and stuff. So this should actually be like that. Let's go ahead and make this line here and this line here. I think I'm just about out of time for this video too. But the good news is that as you do this enough, you kind of just start to get a feel for it, and then you can be much more loose and skip a lot of the steps and just, you know, estimate a lot of the stuff, and it'll still look cool. Right, so we'll come back and continue on part 3. Leave comments, let me know what you think so far, and yeah, if it's too confusing, let me know.